You are up, Commissioner.
Okay, we're now in session. We are being recorded. We need a motion on our agenda. We have a couple of items that we've crossed off. One was with Ryan Belknap, personnel policy, and one with Christy Clauser for the copier signature. Other than that, the agenda stands.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the amendments as discussed, or as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Chantel?
Chantel Laulu with Indigent Services. The case that I have before you this day is case number 2023-0017. It's an application for cremation expenses submitted through Wilkes Funeral Home in an amount of $1,200. The applicant is a 52-year-old female who's applying for cremation expenses for her 19-year-old son. The deceased is a 19-year-old male who is a Bannock County resident, was not a veteran. With the information that we did obtain, it appears that the applicant and the deceased meet criteria to be eligible for assistance. Bannock County does appear to be the last resource for payment of these final requests, final expenses, and the applicant has agreed to a $25 a month repayment plan upon approval of this application at this time.
Questions?
Nope. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve case number 2023-0017 as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan, you're up.
I was expecting Seth Scott to be with me.
Okay.
Could we
Yeah, we can.
go out of order?
Yeah, we can go back.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and go to our resolutions. There isn't any. Let's see.
We can do the minutes.
Yep. We got signature only on March 2023 Commissioners Proceedings, partnership agreement with Family Services Alliance, and then we'll go to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve signature on the commissioner proceedings and the partnership agreement with Family Services Alliance.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 That one's just you.
Okay. On the consent agenda, we have salary rate approval forms, liquor licenses, and minutes from April 7th, 11th, 13th.
Any questions on the salary rates?
No, 2 people out at the jail, so good to
Okay.
have.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yep. We'll do you.
Mr. Clauser, Comptroller. The first item I have for you is a discussion regarding prior ARPA reporting. As you know, the auditors were in town last week. They were looking through some of the ARPA spendings from last fiscal year. The main item was the $250,000 that was spent for the concert. Because of the outcome of that monies, she felt like we needed to reallocate those monies from a different revenue, or from a different expenditure source. Otherwise, we would get a binding financials. So I have a couple of options
Okay,
for you. We had $1,550,000 in pending litigation line item that we did not spend. I could take it out of there, that was in county operations. We have $213,000 in contingency that we did not spend. That would leave $36,000 that we would need to come up with a different line. We have Parks and Recs didn't spend $149,000 in their overall expenditure budget. And then PILT, we had $181,000 that we could utilize.
and I'd just take it out of the litigation line one.
That is perfect. We have a little bit more sitting in reserves in the general fund. So that would be the cleanest, and one line.
I like that
The
one.
litigation fund,
Yeah.
okay.
So what I'll do is we're not done with last year anyway, so I'll just do a transfer and take that out of the ARPA fund and put
Okay.
it in there. The $2 million that we used for startup monies for the Bannock County Events Fund, she did mention that that was a pretty gray area to call that tourism. Her recommendation was to throw that into the revenue replacement monies, which is the general spending dollars. We really can't prove that we had a decrease in tourism because we never held concerts or had events to that nature. So for transparency's sake, I was hoping we could move that to the revenue replacement category.
How much was that?
That was $2 million. If we do that,
So that's the general funds that we're using now for concerts and everything else.
well, what we would do is just in the ARPA categories, and I didn't want to give you one of these because I didn't want to be presumptuous and move it. But for the sake of me seeing the numbers, we have the $10 million for general county monies. Right
Mhm.
now, we have dedicated $7 million for forensic pathology, $943,000 for the jail roof. If we threw that $2 million in there, that totals $9,943,000. So that would only leave us $57,000 for other non-expenditure category items.
On this issue here, you say it's a gray area, so it might pass.
It might. It just depends if we want to.
So what was her rationale behind that we haven't done concerts before up there and suffered that loss in the tourism that way?
Well, so when you look at the SLFRF requirements, it just says respond to public health, COVID, or its negative impacts, including providing assistance to households, small business, not-for-profits, or impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. We don't really have any measurables to say that we lost revenue due to tourism and it's Bannock County's impact, not necessarily.
But the tourism and hospitality, that's Bannock County's, that's our motels, that's our, and I feel like because of the rodeos, all the other events that went on, I mean, every time they come in and present before us, they say, well, this is what benefit it brings to Bannock County, X number of dollars, and it's always in the millions of dollars.
Okay.
So
Did they cancel Little League football during that COVID year?
I think that they did. I'd
If-
have to look, but
If they did that, there's a decrease in tourism there.
Well, and the $2 million was just to establish Bannock County funds. So I guess we could try to make the argument that overall events were down.
Yeah.
It's totally your call. The other problematic area with leaving it as tourism is I have to report program revenue from the event center, or the Bannock County events, which I'll just have to find some time to figure out how to do that. It's just one more reporting mechanism that I've not had to do, but it's doable.
I would like to push it forward, actually, myself.
Okay.
even if it is a gray area.
Okay.
I mean, even the fair, we had very minimal at the fair that year and stuff too. And I think that we can justify,
I'll leave it.
honestly, I hate to take money out of the 10 million if we have justifications. There's other projects that we really would like to do. Feelings, thoughts?
I'm with you.
I agree.
Okay, I will put that, so the only change we had was the 250. So that still leaves us with the 2,057,000 in general county monies. But the approved expenditure categories will increase by 250. I'll get you guys a new ARPA sheet
Okay.
with that information, and I'll just email it.
Okay.
Do you need a motion on that, or are you okay with just this?
You know what, would you make a motion on the 250,000?
Okay.
Since I really don't have an expenditure for you to
Okay.
sign, just approve the transfer of the 250 from ARPA to,
Okay, the pending litigation fund?
yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we authorize the auditor to transfer or reallocate, is it transfer? The 250,000 from the ARPA funds to the pending litigation fund as discussed.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right. Next item?
Then you wanted to jump back.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay. The next item is the budget to actual revenue and expenditures that I sent you. This year, I did, or this quarter, I did a different report.
I liked it.
The nice thing that you could see from the report is you have your revenue, and then you had your expenditures by fund. You had the totals in a summary, so you could see how much we were using for reserves.
Yeah, I liked that.
So, how much detail do you want me to go into? I have those caps.
Just kind of look over the ones that are there
Okay.
and explain them just a little bit as,
The interest on investment is something that I am going to look into because we usually don't make $639,000 in a year. So I need to do a little bit more detail on that one. Otherwise, Jen is doing an amazing job investing.
She actually got a shout out at a state meeting as Bannock County doing a good job. So our treasurer is kicking booty.
So
Good.
I'm going to go in and look. I did a quick skim of it.
well, every other board I'm sitting on, their investments went the other way.
Yeah.
So I'm
And,
just-
and our estimate, you see the budget is only 100,000 and we've got 639,000. We've been tanking in interest, so.
Not just what I marketed, it just
Yep, so
caught my
I'm
eye.
gonna look into that a little bit more. You have marked the election, well, one of the other differences, if you noticed on this, is we have, like within the clerk's department, we have the abilities to break up elections office, clerk's office, and auditing office. So you can roll up how much each function has within there and see how much is spent. It's a little bit different reporting, it's just drilled down. So that's kind of a cool thing. Elections office, you have the 432 line, which is repairs and maintenance office equipment. She's probably just going through more toner, copies, things like that because of ballots. I'll have to double check that one.
And the reason I marked it too was how many more elections do we have this year? You know, and if we're already in the hole, I'm just curious.
One of the things with printers that went up, it actually saves us money on another line, but we bought those air ballot printers, so we have ballot on demand, so we never run out of ballots.
Yeah.
And we had to do, in our November election, we had to print several hundred off the air ballot printer.
So that'll probably just be, a different line is gonna cover that because of the different system.
And what, we have a May election? Or
A small one.
a small one, and any others in this budget
And
year?
no,
We may
Okay.
potentially pay for ballots in September, August, September, for the November.
Mhm.
Sometimes she prepays for some of that.
yep.
Okay.
So, but overall, she's at 38%, and we're 50% end of the year, so she's
Yeah.
good to go.
Okay.
The travel line, oh, that's because she only gave herself $200 and she had to pay for the hotel for the election conference. And did she and Brandy both go?
Brandy couldn't go.
Okay.
And like I say, the reason I mark this is we're getting ready to go into the budget, and just as every department looks at where they're at and what they need to request for next year, that's a high point.
Yeah. I need to look at why that total says $6 million. Oh. Yeah, I need to look and see why that says $6 million. The general fund total for expenditures, that's got to be a typo, because the budget's only $881,000. Or, I mean, 15 million. But no, 6 million is right, because that's salaries too. That has something to do with roll-up codes,
Okay.
the way it's looking on a grand total. Because the total expenditures for general fund is $6,212,000.
And that one's a negative percentage, isn't it?
It's a negative, and it shows, yeah.
Okay.
So I need to see how the roll-up codes are working. We're still working through roll-up codes, how they work and what they mean. Some make sense, some don't.
Okay.
Operating supplies for the district court, $4,000, $4,900 with a budget of $3,000. Next time I do this, I'll bring up my laptop, and then I can drill in and find what the actual expenditures and why. They probably just had a one-time expenditure, and we usually put
And
those
most
in
of
office
these-
supplies if they're not going to be recurring.
Most of these that I marked, I mean, they had a percentage of 192 or
Yeah,
higher,
100%.
and so I just,
Yeah. D6. Do you have office equipment or vehicles highlighted? Oh, probably office equipment, because they've spent $450. They budgeted $150. That was probably just not the best budgeting that could have happened.
and that's why, like I said, we're gonna go into budget. I want, as we
Now-
talk with people,
The professional fees is something, I met with Carrie and Ashley yesterday, and she came before the board when she had the contract signed. They're doing a little bit more contract work than they anticipated during the budget process, and she's actually going to try to do a little bit more. They're potentially going to need to move money from A down to B, so they're going to come meet with you probably within the next month.
okay, it's been quite a while since we've met with them.
Yeah.
All their requests, and that's why I just wanted to
And it's
make
gonna-
sure they're not just spending just because.
No, they're not, but they did come before you on this line. We just were going to absorb it within until they couldn't, so we're going to continue to watch it. I like that they're using contracts instead of a lot of employees. That'll save us at least the benefit side. So I let her know yesterday, their revenues right now are at 79%, which is really good. They should only be at 50%, so their revenues are higher than anticipated. That's a good thing with them.
That's good.
Finally.
You've got computer supplies, that's probably just, they spent $350 more than they anticipated. Urgent repairs and maintenance, same deal. They've spent $15,000, they only had budgeted $8,000. They'll absorb it within. It's probably just software package that we had to pay for out of this budget when we were hoping to pay for it out of one of the grants, but the grant wouldn't allow it because with the workload grant.
And it's not in this one, but we got the letter from Idaho Power saying they're
Right.
going up 10%.
I need to move that $4,200 to the Bannock County Events Department because we zeroed this out. So that's why that one's a negative. And then juvenile detention, yeah, that's a roll-up code issue because it's showing up 863%. That's all right.
Yeah.
Percent, that's just because property taxes have almost all been paid. That skews things. We have a couple of revenues that are down, and those are the ones that rely on, like ambulance is down. That's because they rely on collections for half of it, so. Anyways.
Any other questions, comments?
Nope, it's
A
good.
motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the year-to-date expense report as presented and discussed.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Now you're up. Brian?
Okay, Ryan Belknap, HR Director.
Seth Scott, District 6 Juvenile Detention Director.
Okay, so I got us on the agenda because Seth has been talking to me about a potential, not a full reorganization, but a bit of a restructuring in some of the positions in his department. And I'd like, you want to go ahead and speak for it?
Sure, yeah, so, can you hear me all right? So, I had a lead supervisor position within our organization, and then due to some potential nepotism problems, we kind of restructured that a little bit, because I had a lead supervisor who became sister-in-laws with one of my supervisors. So we kind of moved her into more of a training supervisor role, which she's been filling for a while. And then when I recently met with her for evaluations, I was also discussing future needs of our training program and that I wanted to make it more robust. And she indicated that she will have a really difficult time doing that. She's been doing this. She asked for a voluntary demotion back to just a regular shift supervisor without having any of the lead or training obligations that that position has. So, and while looking at that, I've been looking at current employees that we have in those other positions, and I've discussed this briefly with Commissioner Huff at juvenile detention board
Let me stop you here
meetings.
for a
Yes.
second. Are you going to start identifying or naming people specifically? Do we need to go into an executive session?
I'm not going to say anybody's name.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we covered that.
Okay, yeah, so, just the quality of people that I've been able to hire over the last several years is not really what it has been in the past. So I'm not necessarily comfortable promoting any of my current shift supervisors into that kind of.
Let's go into executive session, because this is
Okay.
recorded, and we're talking about your people,
Okay,
whether we're mentioning names or not, but just some of
Okay.
the comments there, I would rather protect them and you.
yeah, absolutely.
In them statements.
Try to make everybody move.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we go into executive session under Idaho Code 74-2061 A and B.
Commissioner Moser,